This local currency thing, as far as I can make out, it's quite legal for DAOs to operate in the British or the legal framework as the Law Society of England and Wales think. And let's local employment trading systems or local exchange trading systems, which is a kind of tradition, there's no reason why they can't be integrated into a distributed autonomous organization. But the problem that exists is that in order to run one of these systems, unless you're prepared to do it on paper, writing checks, which is how it used to work in Cambridge until when I last used it, which was 2001. Once you go to an automated system, you're then burdened with having to run a website, host a domain, GDPR, and all of these things. And it becomes complex because very few organizations actually have people that are capable of doing that and have the time, because running a website, maintaining software, doing all the security updates is quite a lot of work, and it also requires hard cash. As far as I know, that, well, unless you have some kind of DAO scheme, you will never have a local, an autonomous or self-funded local exchange trading scheme, because it will always rely on currency and income in cold hard cash to pay for the network provision. That's but if you think about how many telephones that human beings have produced, how many smartphones, I think there's one for every person on earth now, but most of them have been smashed up and recycled, and lots of them are just sitting in cupboards. People don't know what to do with them because the software got slow and the network protocols evolved, and so 3G smartphones aren't very useful now, but they're sitting around all over the place, and their batteries are flat, and it's hard to make them work. But in principle, that and the number of PCs that are lying around, you would only need a minimal amount of radio networking to wire these old used PCs into a mesh radio network using LoRa Mesh-tastic or something. But I'm not sure what Mesh-tastic is, but at least I know you can buy LoRa interfaces, hardware. I'm not sure you can run the Meshtastic software on ancient hardware, but in principle you should only need to, you should only need to interface a USB LoRa dongle with an antenna onto an old PC that you could get for free. You still need to provide that PC with electricity. So in principle, a local exchange trading scheme could run its own network and wouldn't rely on internet hosting and wouldn't need a connection through any internet service provider that charges cash. And also, there's no reason why an internet service provider couldn't, if there was a DAO structure with smart contracts that was properly defined, there's no reason why people who are rich in Bitcoin couldn't underwrite transactions up to a certain level into lets, so that the people who are responsible for the IT implementation of a particular local local exchange trading scheme could pay for their network access through the DAO, in which they all participate, which they're all sub-organizations of. And a friendly internet service provider, hopefully more than one, could say, yes, if you're underwritten by Bitcoin, we can accept Bitcoin for hosting. And so you could get somewhere, and you could, these Let's groups around the country and around the world, because they're all in all countries all over the world, they're these groups, they could cooperate together to develop software for running them, and they wouldn't have to duplicate this effort. They could cooperate together, share servers, share disk space, and blah blah blah, and it would be part of the Let's economy, rather than being dependent on the cash, the fiat currencies of the countries which they participate in which they operate. But I can't get anyone involved. There's one group, I can't remember what it's called, I can't remember the guy's name. There's a group in Switzerland that have produced open source Let's servers set up, and they run managed servers on behalf, and they're quite nicely well set up. But the rest of it is just a kind of mess of forked versions of ancient PHP, the code which requires unmaintained versions, old versions of PHP, and it's basically not secure. So those things really need to be shut down. But there are people developing new versions, but they're developing them for some specific local group, and they're not ready to release their code, because it's all specific to their group. I guess it's got hard-coded strings, with full of hard-coded strings, with goodness knows what in email addresses, passwords. And this stuff is hard to do, and I don't think any of these groups are ever going to be able to get to the point where they release a general version, because that's always going to be second down on the priority stack, and the first thing is going to be maintaining their own code base, because that's so much work for one group to do. It's not going to happen. So, but I can't find anyone who wants to talk about DAOs and using smart contracts to go one level up and connect these networks together. All people want to do is tell me what to do. Tell me how to copy this data from this Google Docs spreadsheet to this Google Docs spreadsheet. How to copy the database. How to edit the database in Microsoft Word. Paste 50 megabytes of data into the cut buffer and paste it into PHP MySQL admin or whatever it's called, and copy the database and then export CSV lists of email addresses and copy them into Google Docs spreadsheets, and they want me to spend all my time doing that, and they're getting very antsy because I'm not. I'm trying to solve the more general problem, and I think that's what you should do. I think you should push your problem solving up, and of course it very quickly gets to the problem of why the web is such a mess and why it's such a pile of crap. It's because people are locked into particular concrete pieces of code, and nobody's interested in developing abstract formal languages that describe schema and user interface schema and things like this. Nobody wants to do any of that. They're all too busy hacking PHP or typing things into ChatGPT and pasting the resulting code into whatever ChatGPT thinks a web program is. Nobody wants to solve the root problem, which is that people aren't interested in collaboration or people just aren't interested in collaboration because it's hard and it's easier to, and you don't serve your own interests. Your own interests end up being secondary, and everyone's got to pay their rent, so no one wants to talk to me. But I keep trying. But what you need to do is start with Tom Ridge's Grammar of Grammars, and you can write that in Chinese. I can't because I don't speak Chinese, but you can write, if you're a Chinese speaker, you could write a Grammar of Grammars just like Tom Ridge's one in Chinese, and then the English speaking, ASCII speaking people can write a specification to translate Chinese grammars into ASCII grammars of grammars, using little lookup tables to get words like alt-seek, etc. And at the end, it's all just a Cartesian closed category. And that's what you need to start with, exponentiation. But Philip Wadler's lecture doesn't seem to go down well with any of these hackers. They don't like the way he says, you've got a problem, I'm really smart. And they don't ask questions. They just... I send people this video and they say, well, I'm obviously not smart enough to understand that. And they don't ask questions. They don't ask, why the hell is that relevant to the Everything app? And it's very relevant. Don't bother going to Cambridge University and getting a bachelor's in computer science. You still won't know. Now, why is that? It's so weird.